All right, we're on Toho. It's hot. Water temperature is about 90 degrees. The air temperature is about 99 degrees. It's gonna be a little challenging. We're gonna pull some tricks out of Tim's tackle box today and see if we can catch a few. Definitely got a couple tips, especially for the people, maybe even some of the pros that have a hard time coming to Florida. We're gonna try a couple things today under these hard conditions and see if they make a difference. We're gonna primarily focus on flipping today. Hot conditions, sunny, bluebird skies, hot water, hot temperatures. So we're gonna focus on any fish that we can find buried up in some thick grass. Hopefully we can pull a few out. Let's go. I'll show you two different setups that we're going to use today. And these two baits can determine your outcome. So traditional flipping, half-ounce weight, maybe a 5/8 ounce if it gets a little windy out. Right now, half-ounce will get me back in there where I need to and it'll get it to the bottom. 4/0 Gamakatsu hook, black, blue, Strike King Menace. I use that all the time, common bait. I think everybody's got it, just about any little creature bait that you can get away with. When the conditions are tough, like it is now, and you're flipping buggy whips or thin grass, and you want to get your bait to the bottom, sometimes it's hard with that bait. So I'll take a Senko, hook it upside down. I use a small, like a 2/0 hook up here, and take a screw-in weight, screw it in the bottom. And you're throwing into stuff, your line's not going to get hung up and have that little V where it gets stuck in there. You can get away with a lighter weight doing this, and it'll hit the water a lot quieter, and it just torpedoes straight through that grass. It'll get you to the bottom with a lighter weight, lighter presentation going into the water. And sometimes that'll be a big difference in places like this. Harris chain especially, I've done real good in Harris using this. Not only just hooking a Senko backwards like this, you can take that creature bait, hook them backwards. But you gotta be careful because sometimes it'll backfire. I fished a tournament on East Lake Toho. It was like a 3-day tournament. Practice week before, the spot I found was loaded with fish, loaded. Went in there with this bait, rigged backwards, had the screw-in weight down here, or the hook at this end, screw-in weight down here where it dropped in. That water's real shallow out there, so I wanted to make sure my bait was hitting the water quiet with a super light weight. And for 2 or 3 days in a row, with it rigged backwards, I caught 20, 30 fish a day in there. Didn't hardly miss a fish, maybe 1 or 2 here and there. Third day of the tournament, I go in there. Fish are still there. The first 6 bites I had, missed every single one of them. For whatever reason, one day to the next, they changed. That third day, having it rigged backwards like that, I don't know if they were just grabbing the claws, shaking them off, but they were just hitting it and spitting it out. I turned it around backwards, rigged it back this way, the original style, and never missed a fish the rest of the day and ended up winning the tournament. So this little technique will work. It'll get you in the water a lot quieter with a smaller weight and a lot, and some hydrilla works great in that too. But you gotta be careful sometimes when you rig it backwards like this, they'll grab them claws and they'll miss the hook. So you just gotta let the fish tell you kind of what they want, how they're reacting to it. It works though. We're gonna try to catch some on it today. All right, hot, calm weather, clear water. We're gonna get back in this stuff deep. Hopefully not get hung up too much. A lot of people come out and flip the outside edge of this stuff. I like getting in there, in the woods. Flipping setups, actually a few different flipping setups. Mostly I use a 7-to-1 reel. Just so you got a little bit more leverage on that. I mean, I flip with an 8-to-1 too sometimes. You can just get it in and out quicker, but I feel like the 7-to-1 gives me a little more leverage. Heavy action rod, usually like a 7.2 heavy. Normally I'll flip 50-pound braid. A lot of times I'll flip 40-pound braid just to get it. That's just one thing about me. I usually try to get away with the lightest line I can possible just to try to get the bites. And then manage getting them in the boat after that. Sometimes it makes a difference. I've seen it make a big difference before with just line size. You know, there's other, I flip with a spinning rod too. I got a 7'6" heavy action spinning rod that I'll flip with 30-pound braid. And I'll use that a lot of times on Harris, lakes that are really pressured. And I'll flip with a really small bait and a small weight, just to give them something a little different that they might not have seen before. There's one. This fish actually was on the outside edge. I wasn't expecting that. I thought they'd be a little bit further up in there. We're gonna fish some more of this to get up in the thick. Really wasn't throwing it a whole lot. Kind of surprised he was there. Outside edge, right next to one of these little clumps right here. Swam it out, picked it up. Maybe I'm fishing too deep. We'll find out. Anywhere that's got a lot more trees clumped up together. And you look in here, you got all this stuff that's scattered, and you look back in there, you can see little open pockets. And those little open pockets and trails look inviting, and sometimes they're a great spot to throw, but I don't want those spots, especially this time of day and these conditions. I want where it's thick and where, you know, maybe the cattails are broken and folded over, or there's some pepper grass or lily pads or hydrilla or hot water hyacinths, anything kind of built up in there. There's a little spot right there that's just a little bit thicker than normal, or if it's a little bit darker green than normal, it just means it's probably a little bit of a more mature plant, a little healthier, and it's just going to offer more shade. Anything that's different. And I'm starting to see a lot more of these eggs on these trees right in here than I have back there. I don't know if that's going to tell us anything or not. There's a bunch up there too. It just means there's a little more snails in this area. Don't know what it means, but it's something different. It's just good to notice things. Start catching fish here, we'll start looking for snail eggs around the lake. Is that a fish? Sure is. He was a little close to the surface when we set the hook on him. Boat was kind of moving around the grass, and I could just kind of feel him. I wasn't sure if it was the grass leaning or the fish had it. I'll throw this in a couple more spots, and then maybe let's run across the lake to that grass over there. I think there might be a little more wind on that, and maybe I can throw that Senko in there and get off there. Get something to bite that other deal. There's some thick grass right there. That little spot right there, kind of barrel shaped. Oh, I had him. Oh, yeah. He was, I don't know what he was, but I picked it up and he was chewing on it. Dang it. The problem with these fish in here like this, and I might have said this the last video we did, when we had that tournament, I lost a lot of fish. I caught a lot, but also lost a lot because the later in the day it got, throwing back in here and this stuff, you'll throw it in there, and it'll drop down in front of a fish, and he'll just hit it, reaction bite. He'll just sit there and hit it, and he'll just sit there with it. He won't move. And you go to pick your line up, and you're thinking you're stuck on the weeds because it's just tight. And you hold it there for a minute to check and see if it's a fish, and all of a sudden you feel boom, and then you set the hook and you miss him. It's because that bump you felt was when he's blowing it out. So I tell people, if you have any doubt, when you pick it up and there's weight on it, set the hook. You'll get hung up, but you'll lose a lot less fish that way. All right, we're gonna head across the lake. We just got done fishing these buggy whips over here. Water's flattened out pretty good. It's still hot. We caught a couple small fish out of there. We're gonna run across the lake, see if there's a little bit wind on this west side, and we're gonna fish something a little bit different. There'll be some buggy whips in there, but hoping the grass will be a little more matted up. Hopefully provide a little more shade down there. Maybe find some lily pads in there and just try something different. See if we can find something over there. We're gonna get way back in this thick stuff. We're gonna work this line right between these buggy whips and this grass. We're gonna kind of follow it all the way down through there and see if that little that transition line will have some fish. Kind of sit in one grass or the other and ambush anything that's trying to cross the road. Fishing. Not a fish. Nope, not a fish. Felt like fish. Hey, when I make contact, I stick them, or they come out of the water. One of the two things happen. Oh, I was so hoping that was a fish. I don't even know why I'm messing with this stuff. Where I caught them before was in this. That is a fish. I thought it was stuck in the grass. Yeah, little guy. So the only thing bad about here is all these fish out here. 90% of the fish we catch out here are going to be pound-and-a-half fish. As we get lucky and find that one big one. So the only thing bad about what we're doing right now is the sun's behind us. And it's throwing our shadow this way. But there's enough grass and lily pads here, it's going to kind of break up our shadow. So that's something I'm always conscious of when I'm flipping is where's my shadow at? Where's the displacement of the boat water going? Is it affecting fish I'm trying to catch? Well, actually, we're going to throw this other one in there. I really want to get one to bite this. Now I got to get used to this rod. There he is. That fish might be a little bit bigger. Come on, get out of there. Nope. Backwards worm trick. I was thinking. You see, he's got a little. That's a 2/0 hook. You know, that's another thing. Not even just flipping, but to me, a mistake that I see so many people make is they use an oversized hook. They use a hook that completely deteriorates the action of the bait. You don't need to take a fluke or a Senko. It's a thin body bait and put a 5/0 hook in it. That's a 2/0 flipping hook. And that's what we caught that fish on just now and drug him through the weeds and got him out of there. Smaller hook, I just lets the bait perform better, and I feel like it gets snagged a lot less. I thought that was a fish. He hit it. As soon as it landed in them buggy whips, I felt him smacking. I just want to make sure he was on there, and he was. Little guy. See if there's another one in there. Sometimes it's kind of late in the season, but they have been spawning out here a little bit later. Get that little one you can throw back in there, and that big female will be sitting there. Sometimes, usually not, but we're gonna try it. That's a bigger fish, I think, a little bit. Yeah, same size.
So real quick, just explain. That spot came out here where the wind's blowing into it or something like that.
Yeah. So we fished the whole backside back there. Really didn't get much. We caught one, I think, back there. Something just bumped that grass. There might be a few fish in here. Come on the outside, we're just throwing on this windy shoreline of these buggy whips. Threw it back on a big cluster, and I really didn't hop it much. I just kind of drug it across the bottom coming out of there, and the fish picked it up. They might be wanting it just laying on the bottom and not that vertical presentation. We're about to try to see if there's another one in there. I want,
Hold on, don't say anything. Don't do that.
Sorry. Man, that fish was right on the outside edge again. Just sitting there with it. It seems like there's more fish out here on the outside edge. We've been fishing up there shallow. Same size as what we were catching up there, but yeah, 1/2 ounce tungsten, 3/0 Gamakatsu and black and blue Strike King Rage Tail. 40-pound braid.
Point where we can keep full time like a lot of people full time.
That one's a little bit bigger. Outside edge, right by the lily pads. I'm liking that Strike King Menace. Just dragging it, just letting it sit and dragging it. Is that a fish? It is. Stay on there. I don't know if he's still on there. Kind of wrapped up. Probably came off. Just sitting there, not even moving. Yep, he gone. He gone. Well, we came out here and tried to tackle a rough day, hot water. Flipped some grass, some buggy tails, caught a few up in there thick, but I think we found out most of them were out here on the outside edge. Just flipping the black and blue Rage Tail. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit from a couple things we were doing today. Might help you next time you go out and tackle a hot day on a Florida lake. Good luck.